This is Renee Collins, and welcome to Overtones. Welcome, everyone. You are listening to the 12th broadcast of Overtones, talking about my generation today. And that's just what we're going to do on WLXU 93.9 Lexington Community Radio. And I am Renee Collins, your host, and I am joined, as I am each and every week, by the beautiful and talented Whitney Acke. Let's all welcome Whitney Acke to the show.
Hey, guys.
We have just listened to the sounds of Lexington's Brother Smith, who open our show each and every week with their hit song, Happy Tune. And wow, do we have so much to be happy for today. Right, Whitney?
Oh, absolutely.
Whitney and I are welcoming guests today who have a broad range of musical artistry and contribution to the local music scene here in Lexington. And we are so excited to present to you the inaugural feature of Overtones today called Talking About My Generation, which will not only showcase the talents of these amazing Kentucky musicians, but we also explore the generations with which they associate and how each of these generational influences brings to the table in regards to skill, experience, and encouragement to share with others. In essence, we are passing the plate around the table today for all generations to gather, share stories, and spend time with family and contribute their gifts of music to each other. Now, last week we talked a little bit about carrying on, and there was a lot of carrying on going on. So I've got a musical quiz today for everyone, just like I did last week. Who said this? If music be the food of love, play on. I have stumped the audience today. I need to get a Jeopardy theme song, by the way. But that was actually from Shakespeare. And it's a beautiful thought for us to consider as we talk about introducing our guest today on WLXU 93.9 FM. Those of us playing on today on Talking About My Generation, parent and child musical dream teams. First up, we have a father and a daughter gathered around the table today. Please welcome to Overtones Lexington Musicians, Ray Adams and his daughter, Chelsea Adams. And next, folks, this mother and child reunion is only a motion away. So I make a motion to the table to introduce our next guest. Do I hear a second? Second. Join me in welcoming jazz great Gail Winters and her son, percussionist, Berea music professor Trip Bratton to Overtones. Also joining us today at the table are WRFL's UK professor and former band member of Velvet Elvis, John Clark, and his daughter, Lexington Community Radio Program Director, Mary Clark. Let's give them a round of applause. So this table is set for something very special today, everyone. And we have also invited Lexington musician Daniel Phelps to sit at our table today as well. And Daniel always shows up with something interesting to share with his audience. And this seems like show and tell. What do you have there?
I have a harp guitar that was made in Ukraine. And that's what I'm going to play today. It has 21 strings on it.
And what's the origin of this instrument, Daniel?
You know, we all know what harps are. So the idea was to just have 3 banks of strings. So I have the bass strings here, and then I have a guitar, and then I have these up here that are tuned like the black keys on a piano.
Wow. And you had that made somewhere. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes, I ordered it. I mean, it wasn't special made just for me, but it was made to order, I guess.
Okay.
It's not like it's my personal design or anything like that. So.
Well, we are so glad. Did you teach yourself to play this instrument?
Well, I taught myself guitars, certainly, and then the rest of it just kind of fell into place.
Wow. I wish those kinds of things would fall into my place sometimes, right?
Right.
So, what are you going to play for us today, and how are you going to go about doing that?
So I have set up here this guitar with a pickup in it. I have a pedal here with a looper and some effects and things, and I've got it ran into a little amp here, so that's what I'm going to play through. And it's an instrumental song called Traveling.
Okay, wonderful. Well, welcome to the show, everyone. Daniel Phelps on the harp guitar. Let's give him a round of applause while I get set up. Whitney, can you speak to Daniel's talent? He's a frequent flyer at the Twisted Cork on our open mic night.
He is. Daniel's incredible. It's crazy to me. I mean, this instrument has 21 strings, and it's like in the most bizarre shape I think I've ever seen. And Daniel's like, oh, yeah, it just came to me. How to play it just came to me. I mean, that is like the level of natural talent that Daniel Phelps possesses. It's amazing.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much for being here with us, Daniel. And we're going to hear more from him towards the end of the show. But right now, we will be back after these messages.
Today is gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you. By now you should have somehow realized what you gotta do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. Backbeat, the word is on the street that the fire in your heart is hell. I'm sure you've heard it all before, but you never really had it down. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. About you now. And all the roads we have to walk are winding, and all the lights that lead us there were blinding. There were many things that I'd like to say to you, but I don't know how. I don't know how. 'Cause baby, you're gonna be the one that saves me. That saves me. And after all, you're my wonderwall. Today was gonna be the day, but they'll never throw it back to you. Never throw it back. By now you should have somehow realized what you gotta do. What you got to do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. About you now. And all the roads we have to walk are winding, and all the lights that lead us there were blinding. There were many things that I'd like to say to you, but I don't know how. No, I don't know how. Yeah, yeah. Said maybe, you're gonna be the one that saves me. That saves me. And after all, yeah, you're my wonderwall. Said maybe, you're gonna be the one that saves me. That saves me. And after all, yeah, you're my wonderwall. You're my wonderwall. My wonderwall.
Great job. You are listening to WLXU 93.9 Lexington Community Radio. And let's welcome to the show cosmetologist and business owner Chelsea Adams, along with her musician dad, Ray Adams. Let's give him a round of applause, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, Renee.
This is a wonderful day, is it not?
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
Yes, it is.
So I'm going to have Whitney speak to you all in a little bit, but I've got another musical quiz. I know everybody's getting really tired of this. We're just going to start studying out
Bring it
before they come
on.
to my show. But this one says, who wrote these lyrics? Fathers, be good to your daughters. Daughters will love like you do. Girls become lovers who turn into mothers. So mothers, be good to your daughters too.
John Mayer.
Very good, Chelsea. At least we have some knowledgeable person in this room, right? Great job. Now, Chelsea, you have a very special relationship with your dad, and you've spoken to me about this before. We're going to talk about a song that you wrote for him a little bit later.
Yes.
But I'd like to turn the microphone over to Whitney to interview Ray Adams and Chelsea Adams for our musical dream team parent-child reunion.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
A lot of people in town, they respect Ray Adams just to the absolute limit. And so my first question for you is, how was it to grow up with Ray Adams as your dad? I mean, musically.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, it's kind of a hard question because I don't like think of it as, that's just the way I grew up. But there was always music going on. There was always a recording studio in the house. I'd like to say that it was wild and crazy, but it was just life. Yeah.
Can completely understand that. And in your song that you're going to play later, like we've talked about the lyrics, I've gotten to hear it. It's beautiful. You talk about him singing you to sleep. So I just think that would be so cool to have a dad that like sings you to sleep every night. I mean, how magical that must have been.
Yeah, it was super awesome. And I mean, I even remember him singing the song that we sang earlier, Wonderwall, whenever I was little. So.
Oh my gosh, I forget how young you are.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
I know.
I remember, I don't know how old you were, but you wrote a story about me being your Wonderwall.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That was in high school. It was actually part of my senior portfolio. So I've written several stories about him over the years because he's always been awesome and a good role model.
Yeah, I love the dynamic of the two of you. It's always neat to hear family harmony. That's something that some of us music nerds, if you will, get really excited about.
Yeah.
And what's so special about you two is that the connection when you're performing is so visible.
Yeah.
I mean, people feel it, and the energy. You're just so connected. And I know your sister, Savannah, also performs with you guys.
She does.
And the three of you together, the way you connect on stage is just, it's incredible.
We wish she could be here, yeah. But, yeah, it's awesome to have that bond with your family.
Yeah.
We spent years every Saturday and Sunday playing out on patios, the three of us. And Savannah's really good with harmony. So the three of us just kind of gelled together perfectly.
Yeah, we started at like little house parties and but then I eventually recorded a CD, and I remember Dad he worked at Toyota, and he would go straight in, and the way he paid for the CD was to help build the studio that they were doing. So that always stood out in my mind.
That is such a great thing for a dad to do.
And it also sounds like we may need to have Savannah in for a Father's Day show, right?
That'd be
The
awesome.
three of you all. So make note to self. You continue, Whitney.
Yeah, that would be awesome. It is quite incredible. So are you telling me you had to work at it? You said we started on Sundays at a patio. So is this something that you all just worked really hard at, or was it just always natural for the three of you just to sit in a room and it just happened?
There was, I don't remember how old you were, and you probably do. Her and Savannah came in. I always had a recording studio, and I was always playing around, but they came in probably to get my attention, but they wrote a song. How old were you all?
Oh, yeah. Like 5 or 6.
What was the name of the song?
In the Sun or something. Yeah.
Sun, I Will Shine or something. And they wrote these lyrics, and they had a melody line, so I quickly put some music behind it, did some quick tracks, and we recorded it. And that's when I realized they were so young and so talented. It really came through just on, I mean, it sounds like little kids.
Yeah.
But you can see the talent there.
Don't let them fool you, though. We did a lot of Destiny Child's covers and Britney Spears.
That sounds good, too.
We weren't always musical geniuses. We were just like...
Oh gosh, that's so much fun. So Ray, was it difficult for you, like being on the road for so many years and seeing everything that you'd seen and the hard work with a lot of time the very minimal payoff? Was it ever in your heart to discourage the girls, like don't do this, it's too hard?
Yeah, it's such in my blood. You know, it was a blessing to see it happen, but I was always pretty protective. There was things I wouldn't get them involved with, and certain platforms of shows I wouldn't let them get into. We tried to keep it family oriented on patios and stuff like that when they were younger, and of course now they're older. And
They can do what they want now, right?
But you know, I'm a little jaded in the business over the years, so I tried to protect them from what I thought was not good.
And Ray, if you could tell us, the audience, about your musical background. We probably didn't introduce that, did we?
I've just been playing since we were talking generations. My parents were performers, and they had a gospel quartet. My dad played every instrument there was. So I grew up listening to him play Chet Atkins and listening to Elvis and them doing on the road on gospel quartet in small churches and big gospel showcases at stadiums. And so they got it in my blood, and I've passed it on to my children. But I started off, just like a lot of people, going to the music store, learning how to play Cat Scratch Fever, and worked with some good people. Ron Harris, who's kind of a legend from this area. Worked with several rock bands out of Richmond. I worked with the Greg Austin Band for a long time. Went on the road playing, I was in a hair band, believe it or not.
There are hilarious pictures to prove that.
Now I'm more interested in the singer-songwriter aspect, and Chelsea's moved on to her career as a beautician and having her business, and we still get to work together sometimes, which is always a blessing.
Well, I call that working in concert, right? And do you have another one to share with us today,
Sure.
another song? This is Ray Adams and Chelsea Adams on Overtones.
Never would have hitchhiked to Birmingham if it hadn't been for love. Never would have caught the train to Louisiana if it hadn't been for love. Never would have run through the blinding rain without $1 to my name if it hadn't been for love. Never would have seen the trouble that I'm in if it hadn't been for love. Would have been gone like a wayward wind if it hadn't been for love. Nobody knows it better than me. I wouldn't be wishing I was free if it hadn't been for love. For cold walls against my will, at least I know she's lying.
She's lying still.
For cold walls without, oh, Lord have mercy on my soul. Never would have gone to that side of town if it hadn't been for love. Never would have took the mind to track her down if it hadn't been for love. Never would have run through the blinding rain without $1 to my name if it hadn't been for love. For cold walls against my will,
Against my will.
at least I know she's lying.
She's a liar still.
For cold walls without, oh, Lord have mercy
on my soul.
if it hadn't been for love. If it hadn't been for love. If it hadn't been for love.
Wow, that was just fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
And again, you've been listening to Chelsea Adams and Ray Adams on Overtones. And Chelsea, let me just ask you again about that special relationship with your dad, because you also have a song that you wrote especially for him.
Yes.
Can you give us the background of that song?
It's kind of random. I just was feeling the love for my father that day and sat down and it just came out. I don't know. So I used his guitar and was in his little studio, and it just came right out. The words just flowed right one after another. So,
Well, we are so excited to hear this today.
yes, I'm excited to play it.
This is Chelsea Adams on Overtones.
I know a man who's never told a lie, and I don't think he ever could, even if he tried. He raised me like a warrior, and he taught me how to love. His hands are callous from holding up my world. I know this man turn silence into melody. Oh, his harmonies keeps us together. Sees things in strangers they can never see themselves. Brings light to stages that once fallen dim. I know a man I know a man who's got a guitar at his side. Sang me to sleep for all of my life. He can forgive, but he never forgets. And he can clean up all of my mess. I know this man turns silence into melodies. Oh, his harmonies keeps us together. Sees things in strangers they can never see themselves. Brings life to stages that once fallen dim. I know a man. I know a man.
Thank you both for being with us today on Overtones.
Thank you for having us.
And I'm going to pull my best Ryan Seacrest move here before we go into the break. It goes like this. We will be back after the break.
Before I get old. try to dig what we all say. I'm not trying to cause a big sensation. I'm just talking about my generation.
You got me a clap. There we go. I wanted to one-up Mom. This song's from the 19-teens. She likes to do the 30s and 40s music. I'm going to do something even older. Xylophone master George Hamilton Green did this back in the vaudeville days.
Oh, my.
Log Cabin Blues.
Vaudeville.
That was fantastic.
Notes in there, but you know, it's fun. Last time I played that in public was back in the Syncopated Ink days.
Wow.
Syncopated Ink.
Well,
Did
we
that
are
like
honored
a
that you played it here for
little
us.
tap piece.
Oh.
Haven't done it since then in public, so.
Wow. Well, let's
My
give him a round of
goodness.
applause for that.
All right. Let me move out of the way.
And you've just listened to Trent Bratton, local musician, percussionist, Berea music professor. Do you teach somewhere else too?
I'm actually now at Center College.
You're at Central College also. My
Yeah.
goodness, you all are such industrious people. Wow. And let's also welcome his mother, Gail Winters, to the show, everyone.
I say I'll care forever, and I mean forever. If I have to hold up the sky, crazy, he calls me. Yeah, I'm crazy. Crazy in love. Am I say I'll move a mountain. Well, then I'll move a mountain. If he wants it out of the way. Crazy, he calls me. Yeah, I'm crazy. when I go through fire. If he wants it, so it will be. Crazy, he calls me. Yeah, I'm crazy. Crazy in love, you see.
So we are back, and you've just listened to the musical presentation of Jazz the Great, Gail Winters, who has joined us at our table with her son, Trip. And Trip, your mother is a legend in these parts, as we saw, but her legendary career extends way past the city limits of Lexington, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you're a member of her band.
That's right. We are very fortunate, and I love playing with her musically. One of the only times we ever really get to hang out and talk and be together.
And I tell you, it is so mutual. I mean, we have a good time. So anytime you see where Trip and I are playing, come on down and come on over and whatever, and because we're really having a good time, aren't we, son?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't blame you, goodness knows, but my honeysuckle rose. When you're passing by, flowers droop beside her, and I know the reason why. You're much sweeter, goodness knows.
Well, I have another musical quiz, but this may be something that you can be able to answer, Trip.
Okay.
So if you were to describe your mother's career path, what single word or phrase would you use to describe it?
Da 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 da.
I'd say she's one single word. I'd have to say blessed, because she was blessed with such a great natural talent and voice, and she just, music is, I don't know, maybe even more primal of a language for her than English. You know, I think she learned it before she'd even learned words. She started getting up and singing, you know, from all the stories I heard from my grandparents. And
Well, actually, this is a true story. I started at 18 months. I could sing any melody, but I'd make up words because I couldn't talk yet, you know. But I was in front of people singing, my family tells me, at 18 months when we started. But I come from a family of musicians. If you didn't sing, you got left behind with grandma, and nobody wanted to be left
good
behind.
motivation.
That's right. That's right.
So you learned to sing really young, really early.
Wow. So let me ask you about your youth years. And what do you recollect about her career as a child of Gail Winters growing up?
well, I remember all these musicians just showing up in the house, and me sitting there watching. You know, we were just talking about some of these folks, Dusty Pele and
Hank Crawford,
and
Cal Collins,
Norman Higgins would be there, and Boogie, and
Boogie Morton,
And it's actually funny because when I finally actually got into band in school, and I was at Crawford, and my band director was a former bandmate of hers, Doug Oatley.
Yeah.
And my guidance counselor was a former drummer of hers,
Merle
Gastor.
Yeah.
And I kept running into people that had played with my mom and all that. So I had a lot of great support, you know, from my teachers, because they knew from whence I came. I think a little bit.
And then Trip really had some good training with, you know, besides even being in Africa and Ghana and learning their rhythms and all, as far as like djembe and all of that goes, as far as percussion goes. When we'd be in New York, he'd study with Grady Tate, Ben Riley, Bernard Purdy from back in the 70s, you know, so he had classes with, he had those moments, master classes with those guys, so that kind of added to what makes him so wonderful to play with and to sing with.
But there was always music, you know, when I was younger growing up, and getting to hear those folks was just a real treat.
But you know, really and truly, he started really like a little baby, man. He'd pull out all the pans and start beating.
That's what I'm
on 'em.
envisioning about you.
Yeah, he did. When he was just a tiny little tot man, he'd be playing right along with us. When we'd be rehearsing, he'd be there playing those little pans just like he was part of the group, you know. Yeah.
Well, I knew Trip during his college years, and we were at the UK School of Music together, and that's the memory that I have most of Trip being in that lobby
Oh, yeah.
of the Fine Arts Building, and he was
Living
always
there.
just, even if he was in class, he was, you know,
Oh,
the
yeah.
pencils were going, or the fingers, or the foot was tapping or something, and that's just, always remember, it's just, there was just always a beat going on
Yeah.
about you at all
It just-
times.
it never goes away.
That's just amazing. So, Gail, let me ask you, what was it like to be a mother of small children, and how did you balance your musical career with your family?
Well, the thing of it was when I got married and of course had Trip and Artie, I thought I was going to quit, making music. I said, well, the best way I can do that is be there for them all day long. When they go to sleep, I could go out and sing a little bit, and come back. We'll have paid the money and peacefully done all of that. So that's what got me started in doing it. And of course, when we were here in Lexington starting out, man, the place was rocking all over town with music. I'd be singing at the old Phoenix Hotel. I mean, it's torn down now, right? But the old Phoenix Hotel, and I'd go from there on my breaks and go down to the living room and sit in on my breaks. And then after hours, we'd go across the tracks and hear Mike, Mike Allen and Bobby Wilson and Russell Hill, in one of their clubs over there. And I mean, it was just a musical adventure here in Lexington way back when. I guess jazz is my forte, but you asked me how raising kids and doing that. But we would always talk about their music and their composing, and we had this inner conversational thing going on throughout our whole lives together. That's just the way it's been.
I say I'll move a mountain, well then I'll move a mountain. If he wants it out of the way. Crazy, he calls me. Yeah, I'm crazy. Crazy in love, I'd say.
And of course, talking about generational.
Yes.
Right? Well, of course, my mom and dad sang, and my dad was a minister, and he always said he had to pray in knee and a dance his foot all on the same leg, But he and mom were singing, and then my three sisters came along, and we sang as a family. But before that, Dad and his brothers had a quartet starting in the 30s, and man, they would sing. They were singing still in their 80s. Finally, the last brother kind of, got to step into the brother that had retired's place. There were 9 of them, so there was 4. So when one would retire, the next one would be able to sing with the Schivel brothers. And they would sit down at a table and lock into the most beautiful harmony, a cappella. And we grew up with that, I mean, it's just everybody wanted their chance at the
Such
center
a
of the
fantastic
room,
story. Wow.
Yeah.
And let me ask you, Gail, as we talk about our generation today, and you're at the Overtones family table, I guess we could call it. What have you learned from Trip, both personally and professionally, over the years?
What have I learned from him?
Yes.
Anytime you are anywhere, you are 100%. That's what I've learned from Trip.
It's a great thought. And Trip, what have you learned from your mother's generation and also growing up with her?
Well, one of the things about my mom that I've never quite been able to do myself is just she makes friends at the drop of a hat. Like I'll drop her off at, we'll be driving and we'll let's pull up this coffee shop, and I'll let her get out and I'll go park. By the time I'm in there, she's already made friends with half the room. I go in there and it's like, oh, you know these people? No, I just met them. And all that. And so she is just so wonderful with people, and she just makes friends and is so trusting. I mean, she lived in New York City, Manhattan for all those years, and still she just trusts everybody. And she just makes friends, and it's so easy. She just feels like best friends with somebody 5 minutes after they meet. And I just wish I could have. I wish I could do better at that. But I think an element of that has made me maybe a better teacher.
Oh,
so, because I mean, I'm not quite as gregarious or whatever as you are, but I think I did pick up that feeling of being with everybody. And
Trip, you're going to play something else for us, right?
Yeah, this is a little more up what I do regularly.
Okay.
This is I'm going to play a little djembe, and Mom mentioned that I've traveled a little bit. I went to Suriname in 2003 with Aminata Baroudi, who's a wonderful dancer. She was involved with syncopating that I mentioned earlier. She's now in the Netherlands, but she's from Suriname. I went there with her, and we had a dance group, and we did this exchange program where we would teach them some of the stuff that we knew, and they would teach us some of their local traditional music. So I'm going to do a little piece here. This is from Suriname. It's called Isa. I saw you go llena bello. When I saw you go llena bello. When I saw you go llena bello. You na mama llena bello. When I saw you go llena bello.
Wow. We've just had such a musical treat here, haven't we? And we have much more, and we will return after the break. Welcome back, everyone, to Overtones on WLXU 93.9 FM Lexington Community Radio. And you just listened to the music of the mid-'80s group, nationally acclaimed band Velvet Elvis. So join me in greeting and asking the father-daughter radio power dream team, WRFL's John Clark and Lexington Community Radio's Mary Clark, to Overtones, everyone. Let's give them a round of applause.
Wow.
You get a round of applause for having so many adjectives at your command.
Thank you. I've been working on
Does
that.
excel at that.
So, John, you have some stories to tell our table about Velvet Elvis.
Oh, yeah. Well, Velvet Elvis come along after I had decided to quit playing music. When I was 17, I was sure I was going to be, rock and roll star the rest of my life. By the time I was 24, I was completely burnt out from being on the road and, all that kind of thing. So I decided to go back to school. I became a 27-year-old freshman at UK, and almost immediately heard about this band that was getting together, and we did, and we kicked up a little dust and got a little attention paid to us, and it turned out to be a lot of fun. And the thing is Ray's talked about being in a bunch of bands, and I know Tripp has been in a bunch of bands. I was in a number of bands before Velvet Elvis, and I've been in a number of bands ever since. And I think one constant is that bands always break up, sooner or later. But Velvet Elvis was a good one. That was a good time.
What were some of the other bands you were associated with before and after Velvet Elvis?
Well, in the past 6 or 8 years, I played with a bunch of friends of mine who are former members of the Fakes and the Lexington Fayette Urban County Supergroup, and it was a band called Real Numbers, another one called Bad Dad. It's funny, the first band that I started playing in for money when I was 17, we just got back together here we are all, I'm the youngest person in the band, I'm 60. And so we're playing a lot now. It's an 8-piece horn band, and so we got a gig coming up next Saturday, as a matter of fact. So
where is that at?
Well, that's going to be in Perryville, of all places. There's some new music venue in the hinterlands that apparently is a big draw, so we're going to do that. We're doing festival kinds of things, big stages. It's a lot of fun.
Well, that sounds fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to check that out, Whitney. So that's kind of a little essence of your musical life, certainly not comprehensive, but what do you do in addition to your musical life?
Well, I decided that I would, like I told you, I was going to be a rock and roll star the rest of my life. That didn't happen. I came back here, I went to school, I went to graduate school. I've been a professor at UK since 1999 after doing a variety of other things there on the campus before that, so I kind of raised my daughter on the campus, as a matter of fact. I teach an audio production class every semester, music industry management, a couple of required classes that all the students don't want to take, but they have to anyway. So that's pretty much what I do for a living. And then, of course, I don't make any money playing music, but I still do it all the time. And
that makes you a rock
know
star
that
in my
routine,
book.
right?
Yeah. And you are also the faculty advisor for WRFL?
I am.
Correct?
I'm the faculty advisor for RFL. And after we finish taping this today, I'm off to do my show this evening at the Phantom Power Double Hour on WRFL from 6 to 8. And I've been with the station since 1992, actually. So we're not quite all the way back to 1988. We just had our 30th anniversary, by the way. So I go almost all the way back. But I was in Velvet Elvis. We used to play fundraisers to raise money. And by the way, Doug Collins is here in the room right here, who was the original engineer at WRFL and still is to this day. So he gets around. Yeah.
Well, we're so glad to have you with us today.
Yeah,
too.
Nice to see old buddies like that. And Tripp, for instance, we were contemporaries in the mid-'80s. Tripp was in a band called Ogpots, and both of us played around town a lot, and he actually lived kind of catty-cornered across the street from us when you were younger on Sherman Avenue.
I'll take your word for it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I'll believe you. Don't recall.
Well, let's kind of cycle over to that, Mary. What do you recall about growing up with John Clark as your dad?
Music everywhere, pretty much. I'm not one of those people who remembers every detail of my childhood, but there are a few things that stick out musically, and one is he was always playing the intro to Roundabout on guitar. I swear.
That's memorable.
But also, I have pretty fond memories of when he was...
Because everybody can do that.
I have pretty fond memories of when he was in the Lexington Singers, and he was walking around singing The Age of Aquarius all the time one year. So anytime I hear that song now, I just flash back to that.
That's an automatic association.
Right, but I think it's really interesting growing up with all of that, because I think it helped lay the groundwork for music and nostalgia and music and memory and how music relates to emotion for me. So all those songs that I used to hear him fiddling around on guitar or singing growing up, it's like I hear those now and it's just wonderful. And David Bowie especially, we both have matching David Bowie tattoos.
We got him 3 days after he died.
Yeah, so I think David Bowie in particular is kind of the marker for my younger years.
I think I raised the most rabid millennial David Bowie fan around.
I would agree with that.
I will take the title proudly. But yeah, no, I mean, even just learning all the little snaps and claps to Golden Years on our first road trip together in the van, those little things just really stand out even to this day. And it really, I think the reason music is so emotional to me is because early on I got to form those connections in my brain, and it's literally hardwired for me to be able to relate nostalgia to music. And
I used to sit around when her mother was pregnant with her. I had a bunch of original guitar stuff worked up, and I'd just sit there and play and play and play and play. And I made a tape of it to play in the delivery room when she came, but it happened so fast I forgot to turn it on. So.
Well, that's just wonderful stories. And Mary, you've landed in a career that's much like the career that your father has, correct?
Yes, that is true. I'm the program director at Lexington Community Radio, and I was at RFL for a while before that. So, and he was even my professor at UK. So I literally learned everything I know from him. I guess maybe not everything, but
I think she was in 5 of my
four. I had 4 classes
with some of the special topics courses.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's fantastic, and I just wanted to ask you, Mary, also, what do you feel like you've learned from your father's generation?
Oh, well, the generation as a whole, I'd say, is not to take what you have for granted, I think, because everything with my generation, and especially the generations below me now, everything's so easy. In terms of music specifically, people are making music on their laptops, and audio production is at everybody's fingertips. So I think one thing I've learned from my dad and some people in his generation is, to really appreciate where that all started and have an appreciation to be able to go back to that. And also for live performances, sometimes live performances now are just people with a laptop on stage, and I think I have a very big respect for bands who can really get up and blow it away on stage and not just on an album.
Hear, hear.
So that would be one thing, is, and that extends to everything else. We can Google anything at our fingertips, and I hear stories about, actually having to go to a library and stuff like that. And
she hears stories.
I hear stories. This thing called a card catalog.
I really didn't like the library when I was in college, I'll admit it. The library is a social thing now entirely. That's what I've learned, is it's all just social to go to the library. But, everything's so easy for us, and I like to take a look back at sort of those quote-unquote analog days and vinyl records and nostalgia of college radio and all of that.
All of us old dudes who traveled a lot playing music did it without GPS.
Yes, there's another difference, right?
Rand McNally.
Right, that's right.
Yes, Rand McNally.
Everybody carried maps once upon a time.
So, John, let me ask you, what have you learned from Mary's generation?
Well, they are great customizers. And I think one of the things was us boomers always, we just kind of we went with what we had. When we had 3 networks and we said, okay, fine, that's all the TV we're watching. But they make the best out of all the electronics and all the various forms of media that we have available today. And some are more responsible at it than others, but my daughter's a role model for me, because compared to when I was her age, she is so much more responsible and diligent than I was, that I look up to her for that, because she takes care of business like nobody's business. So, yeah, I've got a lot of respect for her for that.
Well, that seems like a good note to end on. Mm-hmm. And I'm so thankful for both of you all for being here today.
Well,
thank you.
Us.
Yeah, it's been wonderful.
We will be back after these messages.
Before I get old.
So to bring this new edition of Overtones to a most profound close, let me ask each of you all on the parent-child dream teams who are here to contribute just a short piece of advice to, let's just say Daniel, because Daniel is probably the youngest parent in the room today, and he's the father to a 11 and 7, did you say, year-old?
Oldest will be 11 in May.
Okay, oldest be 11 in May. And he and his beautiful and also talented musical wife, Lindsay. Let's kind of add some advice there. If I could just get maybe, John, you to speak to that, and then I'd like Ray to speak to that.
Well, Daniel, first thing is don't play for free.
That's good advice.
No, but I'll give you the same advice that my parents apparently understood without me saying anything, was music is good. Support it. It's better than anything else. So you get into music, you will have something that's creative and something that will distract you from things that you probably shouldn't get into. It worked for me that way. That saved me through years of playing music on the road. So support music in every form.
Yeah. And Ray, if I could have you come to the microphone. Ray loves it when I ask him to do this.
Well, Daniel.
Daniel didn't know he was going to be in an intervention today.
We don't know what we're doing as parents, as we're parenting. We've learned from my parents that sometimes you don't want to do that, but all you can do is try to make the right choices. But I agree, music is very important. It's great therapy. It's great outreach for your kids, therapy for your kids, therapy for yourself. Because there comes a time in your life where, for me, okay, I have to take more responsibility of raising my kids. I've had to raise them by myself. And I had to put music on the back burner, but the whole time I was doing it, I was still writing and still singing and playing, but just not as much. But all you can do is the best you can do.
Well, I am so thankful for everyone here, and Daniel is going to present us with, I guess, the desserts from our musical table today. And by the way, did you know that desserts spelled backwards is stressed? So think about that. Stress spelled backwards is desserts. And it's all many times on how you look at it, right? So Daniel, what are you going to play for us next?
This is a traditional Polish song, and it's kind of it's a prayer for protection.
Well, how appropriate. Thank you. And this is Daniel Phelps on Overtones. Thank you so much, Daniel Phelps, and special thanks to all of our guests, Gail Winters and Tripp Bratton, Ray Adams and Chelsea Adams, John Clark and Mary Clark, and also my co-host, Whitney Acke. And I am Renee Collins, working in concert to remind you each and every week that when words fail, music speaks. Let music speak to you and for you this week with friends, family, and lots of love. Goodbye, everyone.